Hey everybody,
Good morning. Good morning. Happy
Was it happy Thursday? Happy 10
Thursday.
a.m. How about that?
That's right. It's Thursday morning, April. It's the end of April.
Did you pay your taxes?
Oh, that's what it is. Is that today?
That's yesterday.
That was yesterday. I always get paid, so I don't ever worry about that day.
Listen
But
to
those
you.
of you, did y'all pay? Because you know you're gonna be late after yesterday.
That's right. So welcome to Health, Wealth,
And relationships with Tisa
and Grant.
Well, today is special to me. So April is many things, and we are well in the end of April almost now. We've covered minority prevention month.
Health prevention, cancer.
We've colorectal cancer. And today we're going to talk about autism. It's also Autism Awareness Month, if you haven't been so inclined to know. And that's special and near and dear to my heart and family. And also we have a special guest.
Yes, we do. We got a special guest. I didn't even know there was an Autism Month. But you
yeah.
made me that aware. And
gotta know.
Your son is also, he is a good friend of mine. He's a cousin of mine. I love, so we got to bring him to the stage. So, Yay. Mr. Andre.
Hey, Andre Partridge. My son is our special guest today.
Hey, everybody. Nice to meet y'all.
Yes. So my son, let's give a little history. My son is 32 years old now.
Okay.
But way back in 1994, he was born to me, my second child. He's my youngest. And about 2 years old, 3 years old, this is our story. So I'm going to give you a little history.
Yeah.
First of all, Andre, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then I'll start. Or how about I start our story after that?
Cool. Like my mom said before, my name is Andre Partridge. Full name, Andre Khalil Partridge. Born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska. More or less a part of the Partridge family, more or less in Omaha. One of the largest Black families in Omaha.
Dozens of cousins.
Yep. Grant's my cousin, more or less on my dad's side. So overall, we're all related here. But the whole thing is that recent graduate of University of Nebraska Omaha, a class of 2021, more or less. Graduated with more or less my own bachelor's degree in general studies with a history of with a major in history and a minor in anthropology. And of course, there's the whole thing of me also being the actual member of the Mayor's Commission for Citizens with Disabilities in Omaha, currently on my second term. So there's that. Also, not to mention the fact that I have a kind of an interesting career path. I was a bagger in recovery for Hy-Vee and or Dollar Tree, volunteer for Mr. Eric Ewing in Omaha, brother of John Ewing, the mayor, over at the Great Plains Black History Museum over at 24th Street. So I volunteered for them for a bit, as well as not to mention being a permanent volunteer for Pink Lowe's project of Omaha, Nebraska, with a mom being the founder. So there's that.
Yeah. Okay, nice resume. I didn't know he was going to run down your whole resume.
It's good though. I'm very proud of you.
He's very involved. Awesome. Yeah, he is on the Mayor's Commission and all of that. Yeah, Andre is technically diagnosed with autism, right?
Mm-hmm.
So about age 3. Now, autism kicks in late. If you don't know, autism kicks in between the ages of 3 and 4. Although they're born with it, they don't show signs and symptoms until 3 or 4. So you might not. That's why people are diagnosed later. You don't even know it until those developmental social skills have to kick in, talking, interacting with people. And so when you think about autism, it's a social disorder. So when Andre was Well, I knew Andre was a first of all, they always tell you they don't know if your child is going to talk or not. So when they first get diagnosed, they're always going to tell you, oh, he's probably not going to speak and you might have to learn. And in his case, we were going to have to learn sign language and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, that's not going to work. Because at that time, Andre's grandparents was watching him and they're too old to learn the sign language. That wasn't going to work. So, but never let the doctor, first of all, first rule, never let the doctors tell you what your kids could do when they're diagnosed with autism. They don't know. And so back 32 years ago, Andre, they had no clue about what autism or the deficits or the beautiful things about autism either. So it was very bleak outcome. Anyway, diagnosed at 3 or 4, didn't talk right away. Andre, what made you talk?
Well, funny you mentioned that. Like you always told me that basically whenever I want something like food, you basically make me kind of beg for it. Not gonna lie.
Not beg for it. I made you say the word.
Yeah, exactly. More or less like Cheez-Its, as it were.
Yeah.
And of course, the whole thing was like I had to say the word in order to get it. So I said the word Cheez-It, and of course, eventually I actually able to talk like that. So because of it.
That's right. And so again, find out what motivates your child. If your kid is diagnosed and he's still small, find out what motivates him. For Andre was a 10-pound baby. You can tell he's a big man. Food has always motivated him. So from the very beginning, he had certain things they would eat. They are very in tune to certain textures and foods. And so at that time, it was all finger foods. And he's grown out of that. But at that time, if he couldn't pick it up with his fingers, he wouldn't eat it. Crackers, French fries, all those things was his favorite, but something that was soupy or spaghetti or pasta was not a thing. So yes, cheese has made him start talking. So Andre is as atypical. He's on the mild end of the spectrum, and so very high functioning. So give us a little description on what you think autism is. What's your definition of autism?
Autism is described often as a neurodivergent sort of condition. Ain't exactly disorder, because to me, what labels a disorder is like how more or less you function in a neurotypical society,
Right.
whereas I'm neuroatypical. So I'm basically kind of like already on the back foot in terms of like learning social cues that are designed for people on a certain, like mental wavelength at the work. Basically, my mind is wired differently than most, and that's kind of the gist of it. I'm very intelligent, various degrees of topics and interests, but when it comes to social situations, it took me a lot longer to develop social skills that a lot of other people would actually be considered like, oh yeah, I learned that at age 5, or I learned this, not to do this at age 10, all that stuff. The whole thing with that is that it took me longer because it was like a mental roadblock in my mind on how, certain things work with other people just outside my family and stuff. So now how to interact with society in that regard. So.
Got it. Well, let's get some statistics. Let's bring Grant into the conversation. Me and you can talk all day, right?
Well, number one, I would say I'm very, very impressed with Andre. I was very impressed when I found out, like, some people with autism, they have certain specialties, right? That they're very, very good in certain lanes that other people find, either difficult or they're just not as they don't master that type of skill. He knows geography like I've never seen anybody understands culture very, very well. I can say he's very, very articulate as well. So on the surface, you would say, well, there's nothing wrong with Andre. You don't see these different things. But I said he is a mild order. But the things that we're talking about autism as broadly, right, and in a broad perspective. And I've seen, and maybe you've been to certain fast food restaurants, you'll see some people that have been employed because it's difficult for them to get employment. I think only like maybe less than 50% of people with autism actually find some type of employment in our society, which I think is a disservice, because I think depending on the person, if you take the time to work with them as you did when he was younger, that this person can adapt to society and contribute
Yeah.
Because they want to contribute, right? They want to be able to do certain things, and then you just have to understand the lane that they play in. I think that's very, very important. So they tell us, this is a stat, right? A lifetime stat. The lifetime cost, I would say, of someone with autism is about 1.4 million to 2.4 million. So that's a lot of money lost. I don't know, in your world, did you have a lot, cost for therapy, schooling, life adjustment? Did you find that, or was that not a problem for you?
Well, for me, it wasn't, because I think, first of all, I want parents to kind of, first of all, be open that your child could have autism. I think that's far, because once you get past I don't know if he does, whatever, get him tested, know the signs. So know some of the signs what would you say are some of the signs? Because we want them to be able to be ready. You need to get ready for the cause, but you also need to be ready for, like, opening your eyes to your child might be autistic. What do you see some of the signs of autism? As a child, you might, if your kid, when very early signs is if they're not paying attention to you, you got to get there. They feel like they're just not tuned into you. Check that out. Make sure the hearing is good. I had to make sure his hearing was good, although he did have tubes put in his ears at 3 or 4. One of the signs is if your child is not responding to you when you're telling them, bring me this, how about that? Go say this to them. Say, if they're not interacting, those little social cues very early, notice it, right? If your kid gets excited and he flaps his hands, jumps around and flaps his hands, that's a sign of autism, because it's like they're sensory overload. They don't know what to do with all that energy. And usually an autistic kid with ADHD. So hyperactivity goes along with 90% of autistic boys, Andre? It's a very high percentage if you have autism that you also have ADHD. So there's an extra burst of energy. If they're running through the house, you ever heard Cat Williams do his show? His son is autistic. And one of the funniest things he ever said, he said, my son used to run through the house, and then I got him on medication. They were saying he's doing too much and put him on medication. And I asked my son one time, he would just sit there and he looks like he's just in thought. And I said, son, what are you thinking of? He said, running through the house. So it's that the burst of energy. And Andre, do you still kind of have a burst of energy that you deal with in terms of as an autistic adult?
Oh yeah, I do. More or less, I kind of channel that by just walking around the block and stuff, and working on the elliptical and stuff downstairs. More or less, I kind of like work out the energy rather than just walking around or wandering around the house and stuff.
Or jumping, right? When you have something that's exciting, if you see kids doing this, that's a sign. You ever see kids do that? I mean, people kind of ignore it, but if they can't express themselves to the point where they're jumping up and down and they look like they want to say something, that's a sign. He used to do that. Andre used to jump and flap, but as he's grown out of it. And I think, they learn to kind of adjust their behaviors, right, Andre?
Yeah, especially when you get older and stuff, at least when it comes to like learning how to adapt to social situations and actually like learn how to manage yourself when it comes to, doing stuff in public and all that versus private.
Right.
In social situations in that regard. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we want to talk about money. Grant was leading it to money. Now, have you ran into any barriers in terms of making money, or, you have a degree, which I think kind of puts you again on a different level. But did you find it? I didn't go into debt with him because he was always this smart, and he could pretty much navigate through school pretty good. Therapy, he didn't need a lot of therapy. He didn't have a lot of anger issues. He could talk and express himself. So for me, I just made sure he was set up with his Social Security. So in terms of money, if you get your child is diagnosed, get them on Social Security right away. It's not something they grow out of. It's not something that they're not ever going to need. Once they're diagnosed, they're always going to need some support like that and that extra layer of finance. So get them signed up for Social Security as soon as you're diagnosed. Yep. But to your point, it can be very costly for some people, parents that have a more moderate person, right? Andre didn't need therapy. He didn't need different modifications for his behaviors. But if I had like Pookie has two special needs kids on the spectrum. One is verbal, one is nonverbal. So yes, there's going to be much more cost involved if you have to get specialized learning tools, learning things, learning apparatus. So some can speak through using balls and writing and doing all kind of other things. And so that does get costly. And we might have her on one time to because I've had it easy. We were very blessed. And I was a social worker, so I knew to sign him up for his money. But it's a whole training involved if you have a more moderate child that can't speak, that needs more services, like a day services. Like Andre is functioning. I could leave him. I can go leave him. We go on vacation. He can take care of himself. Some people have to have babysitters or a day service or somebody to watch them because they're not that high functioning. So yeah, it can be very costly. Pookie had to stop working because she had both of her kids. And so you have to start, some people have to really weigh it out. Do I do a job that I have to leave often because my kids has got stuff going on, or do I just stay home and raise my kids? And so it's a thing.
That's it. I want to ask Andre this, because when it comes to workplace, right? If you had to work in an environment with other people, what are some of the challenges you think, just not only in yourself, but just in autism in general, that employers need to be aware of?
Well, for one thing, like using me and myself as an example, in terms of like hours, more or less like due to my ADHD and also autism in combination with that, long hours and certain times of the day are essentially a no-go for me. Like, for example, like waking up, like, okay, if I had a job at, say, Dollar Tree, and they wanted to actually help make me do shipping, like unloading boxes at 5 o'clock in the morning, for example, can't really do that because more or less can't wake that up on a consistent daily basis to actually, go up 4 in the morning and get there by 5 and unload a bunch of boxes with heavy lifting, and of course stay there until like 10 in the morning, and of course walk back. That would just be exhausting for me. Another thing is that as an autistic person, I'm still learning how to drive, more or less, because that's still a hurdle. And unfortunately for me living in Omaha is because the thing about Omaha is that we're a car-centric city. There's not a lot of like decent, consistent public transit or even like sidewalks to walk on that can actually safely get me from home to work and back. And all of the major actual like stores or job opportunities I need to go to for jobs are like mostly like clear across town from my experience, or at least a good like long ways away that is not walking distance. So for people, mainly for autistic people who are still trying to learn how to drive, that's a hurdle. And another way where if you're in a city that's mainly car-centric and not a lot of pedestrian-friendly spaces or even bike-friendly spaces, you're kind of screwed, more or less.
Have you ever tried like online, just being in your home, being in your environment, working maybe 4 hours just on an application or giving information? Because you're very smart. I don't know if that's something you would do, or that would not be something that would also be kind of upsetting.
Well, for one thing, applications, I could do application pretty well. It's just that like there's certain things about applications is just maybe just in my mind just feels like something I need help with sometimes. I have experiences with job applications where there's a certain particular question that I do not know how to answer right away. Kind of need some extra help when answering, like, especially financial questions or like legalese in terms of like, like actually like signing up for like, hey, are you applicable for this? Or are you ever convicted of this? Or are you so such? The whole thing with the questions is that it can be invasive and sometimes confusing for me, and that's why I need extra help with.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and Andre needs a job. See, as you can tell, he's very social. He talks a lot. He needs a job. Like some people could probably, like he has a friend, I think, that you can do. He's a court reporter, a person who sets up Zooms for courts. You can almost do that stuff from home. But Andre almost needs a job where he needs to get out in the public, be around people. And so I'm he's not a work from home type of guy, but some autistic people probably that would be ideal for them to work from home and zoom in from the computer or whatever.
I can see him in the museum because he
Yeah.
loves to talk about different cultures. I'm sure, Eric Ewing would love to have you back and come down there, or even at the Durham Museum, just understanding what your work schedule would entail.
Yeah, I think that's his ideal job, is working in a museum. The Durham, any museum, right, Andre? The Black Museum. He's just very museum. He's very good about talking about time periods and things that's going on in museums. And so that's ideal. So let's keep his fingers crossed. He's got his application for the city for the library job, right?
Yeah.
That's where we hope. He'll also be good in the library and just be very knowledgeable, somebody who need help in some whatever area. So yeah. Well, how are we doing on time?
We got plenty of time.
So, Andre, do you have any suggestions for people in terms of being how about, I think we have to remind people with autistic people there's a spectrum. And so if one does not fit the other, they are very individual people and have very individual strengths and weaknesses. And so when you talk about autistic people, just know one autistic person is not like the next, but there are a lot of similarities in their journey as well. Right, Andre? Would you say?
Yeah, very much so. Not everybody's the same. No one autistic person is the same as another one. I'm very different on some levels on some other people who are probably more moderate. Some people have more unique strengths in comparison to me. Some people might be good with their hands. Some people are more analytical. Some can actually more or less have intensive memory retention, as it were. Overall, it's just a spectrum that everybody is a case-by-case basis, and it's not like a one-size-fits-all sort of treatment or diagnosis for the entirety of the autistic community, more or less.
But one thing is, like you said, you guys all have kind of a superpower. I always try to make Andre, feel good about the things that you are good at. They're awkward about a lot of social situations, but they all have like a little superpower. Like they all have a really hyper-focused knowledge about something, right? Mm-hmm. So Andre's it was geography and history. Really, those two things combined, he's a whiz at. He can talk to anybody on any level about those two things, and you'll be like, whoa, I didn't know, right? And you just have to have one conversation with him because he will carry that conversation and really show you all that he knows. And so he's real good at that. But, you might notice that your kid as a smaller age is really good about finding things or remembering things or giving specific statistics about cars or trains or something like that, So just be aware that they can be their superpowers. Don't be scared to get your kid diagnosed. Open your eyes to the possibility that you might have an autistic kid. It's not the end of the world. I think people don't get them kids tested because they don't want to have that. It's like a stigma. They don't want to have their kid being autistic. But if they're special, they're special. And I call them special because they are. They're very special in their own little ways.
Let me ask you this, if you don't mind, because this happened for you. That happened in the 1990s. Autism, I don't know exactly when the time period was. It became more aware. People started to understand what it is, because remember ADHD. No one talked about these things.
Yeah.
When I was going to school in the 70s or 80s, I mean, you just either maybe you're special, they put you in a special class or something like that, but there was no definitions and things of this nature.
Not to this level at all. My brother was hyperactive, and they would say hyperactive. They wouldn't say ADHD. They would or hyperactivity, but it is hyperactivity, basically the HD part. The attention deficit is the AD of it. So if you got a kid who seem to act up in class or are done with their homework and they're bothering people, that's how he was. He was ADHD, hyperactive, but he was also attention deficit. He would get done with stuff fast, but then he needed to mess with somebody. So then he got in trouble. And my brother went to Horace Mann, and Mr. Barbie literally had to spank him every day. He was busybody, getting people in trouble, touching on people, whatever. And but he wasn't diagnosed. And I think he was diagnosed, but the only thing was back was Ritalin, and my mother wasn't going to put him on Ritalin. And so that's a hard thing. It's a hard person to deal with, being the sister of a ADHD unmedicated person. My brother needs some medication, y'all. I swear to God, he still do. But anyway, but you have to adjust. You have to adjust to all of that. You have to be aware of what it is, and really get your kid. Andre's been on medication. He's been on the same medication he's been on for 30 years, right? Mm-hmm. We haven't had to really increase his dose or anything. It just levels him off. It's the hyperactivity. Otherwise, Andre would be running around my house bouncing off the walls, right? But it's that hyperactivity, that harnessed energy he'd have. So it keeps him so he can do it when he wants to. He can control it. He can do it in his privacy because he'll run around the backyard still, if I can bust you out a little bit. But that's okay because he's at home or whatever. But he knows how to sit still now, right? And listen and be a part of a conversation. Sit up, son, because I can't see. I'm seeing your chin. All right. Thank you, sir. But yeah, he knows how to sit and be a part of a conversation for half an hour too. So
I've been around him a lot lately, and I'm telling you, I have great conversations with him. I mean, he described to me Florida, because we're going to be going to Florida here pretty soon, and he gave me his whole definition. Like, all right, this is my definition of Florida, and he gave me this whole statistical analysis and the whole blueprint of the different kind of people. And he said, "Well, was that correct?" I went, "That you know probably more about Florida than half the population or more." And
he's only been to Florida a couple of times, to Tampa.
Yeah.
I've been to Tampa. I've been to Orlando. I've been to Miami, but I've been to Clearwater, Bradenton, and the Maria Island. The Bay Area.
My mom used to have a timeshare in Orlando. And when we were kids, they went every couple of years.
Well, I tell you, he's got me looking for buried treasure. He's telling me there's unclaimed buried treasure down there in Key West, as everybody did not know, and I certainly did not know. Like, oh, okay, we might have to go diving for that for sure. I did want to ask you this though, because there's different communication between different people. Do you communicate better with somebody with autism or somebody that doesn't have autism?
I could do either or. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just more or less. I think there's like a special connection with people with autism than people without. But like, I can actually easily talk to a person without autism as much as anyone with autism. It's just kind of like one of those things where it's like, it's less about my perspective and more how the other people respond to me being autistic than anything else. Some are a little bit more open to the idea and some people aren't. So it's just kind of like how they respond to me rather than how I respond to them.
Well, I tell you, Andre, I don't think if someone met you for the first time and you were around them and you're having conversations, I don't think they would know you were autistic.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I can actually blend them pretty well. It's just that, like, for people who more or less been around people with autism, they could probably have more of a reference to see, oh, yeah, I can see the science. I can tell. But, like, for those who don't hang around with people with autism or on the spectrum, it'll be more of a challenge to see is he just weird or is he just something else? So the whole thing is like it's all about like the point of reference for people and how they respond to that and what their shared experience is when it comes to dealing with people like me or other people like me who are all a little more moderate or whatnot. So
yeah, Andre fits in pretty much. Like I said, it's a social. We don't want to call it's a social what, Andre? Not a disorder. What word we want to use? Social situation. It's a social.
It's basically a mental social condition, as a word.
Yeah. So it only gets awkward when it's awkward, like not knowing when to stop a conversation, right? Or not knowing when to butt in a conversation. Or not knowing when to say certain things at the right time. Those social things that can be just awkward. It's not like they're going to do anything crazy. It's just it's just like they might butt in and be like, and you'd be like, oh, okay, that's an autism move, right? So and Andre, it's a challenge for him still every day. So because sometimes I have to remind him, we're getting ready to eat, son. He'll hold your attention. So it still happens, but it's a learning experience. And I hope that every time that I correct him, he understands that that's one of them autistic quirks. We got to work on that, and learn for the next time. Right. Mm-hmm. So relationships, Andre, this is where I want to move him into because Andre you tell me what you feel about a relationships. Would you like a relationship? You've been single, right? Andre's very, conversational. He could be very much a gentleman. I taught him all the things he needs to get a girlfriend. What do you think about relationships at your age? What do you think about autistic people relationships? Should they get together? Tell me about relationships. What's your perspective?
I mean, I would like to have a relationship at some point in my life. I want to have that romantic experience at some point in my life. I just need to find the right person that actually understands me for me, foibles and all. And I actually do want someone that respects me enough to actually take the time to know me. And also I could get the time to get to know them, and we can have a mutual understanding of each other rather than just more or less a one-sided relationship where one just gives to the other, or one just uses the other, or one just demeans the other, and one has a bit more of a superiority over the other. Is like, I want a mutual respectful relationship that I actually could more or less be in a long-term committed relationship with. Looks aren't everything to me. It does help, but yeah, it's just basically looks aren't everything. But the whole thing is that, like, I just want someone that I can actually be friends with as well as a romantic relationship with.
Sure.
That's important.
Man, did you hear what he sounds like 89? No, I'm gonna say 99.9% of the entire population is looking for exactly what you just talked about. Mutual respect is huge.
Yeah, it starts with and it starts with friendship, Andre. Like you said, like I always tell you, it's not like you're gonna jump in and that's my girlfriend. So they have a nice show on called Dating on the Spectrum. And I want him to be on this show. It is the second show, because we saw another other show last year. I forgot what the name of it was, Andre. But they're talking about autistic people's dating. They're setting them up with other people. They're setting them up with the people that they are attracted to, autism or not. But most of them are autistic, and they're finding relationships. I want to get out there.
On regular television? Is streaming?
It's a Netflix. It's a Netflix.
Wow.
I'm gonna try to get him on, y'all, because Andre will be perfect. They go through like speed dating. They go through a couple of dates, and then they're figuring out who their person is, and just for them, they all some of them right away tell them they're autistic. Some of them delay, let them seep into that. But all the awkwardness is both ways. And so it's just a lovely thing to see. We're going to keep watching it, right, Andre? You might see him on that show.
We're going
to Dating on the Spectrum. Yeah.
No, that's a great journey. If there was one thing, Andre, that you want our audience, everybody listening to you right now, to understand about autism, what would that be?
Autism isn't something that needs fixing. Like, it's nothing to be ashamed of if you have a child with autism. It's like, oh my God, my child has autism. It must be the pills. It must be the injections. It must be the shots we get from the doctor. Oh no. But the whole thing is that that's not the case. Autism is not the end of the world, people. It ain't something to be ashamed of. It's not something to be avoided. It doesn't need to be like dreaded like the plague, as it were. It ain't the end of the world. They can actually still function as people with autism. And I'm a case in point example of that, where I actually graduated from college with a bachelor's. I'm still looking for a job. I'm still high functioning. I can still take care of myself. I can still have relationships, functional relationships with people. I can hold down a job. Overall, I'm basically as normal as anyone else. I just have the extra thing that I need to deal with. It's just that, like, people just seems to have this whole stigma when it comes to autism, when it comes to the media, the news. Is like, oh, if you're someone with autism, you must be like more or less, can you function in society that well or much at all? You'll just be a basement dweller. It's gonna live with your mom for the rest of your life. It's like the whole thing with that is we're not that bad off. We're not that worse off. Yeah, so people with moderate autism, people with selective mutism and stuff, being mute and stuff. And of course, the whole thing is that, like, there are more severe cases, but like we said before, autism is a spectrum. People should be aware of that. People shouldn't pigeonhole us into one stereotypical peg in a round hole, more or less. And we need to actually, acknowledge that people with autism should be given the benefit of the doubt and actually prove that we can actually function in society and thrive, more or less.
Yeah, man. Thank you for that education. We need to be educated around these things. We take a lot for granted. I believe you are a wonderful human being. I always enjoy your company. I learn a lot. I'm telling you, I learned so much about certain things, and I love it when you ask me questions as well. And we just have, just conversations. So this is wonderful. Thank you again for being on the show.
Yeah.
Thank you. Glad to be here, actually.
Yes. I just want to wrap up with just always be inclusive. Just, never try to, like you said, just try to be more understanding of an autistic person, give them the benefit of the doubt. No, it's a social thing. So it's going to be some social awkwardness there, but always give grace to any human being. But for sure, a little more grace and understanding to, especially people like Andre that's still just trying to figure it out. But we're all just trying to figure it out, right? We're all working through it and trying to
everybody's got you call them foibles. Believe me, everybody got a foible of some type or another, especially if you pay attention to our world and you see certain individuals, what they call quote unquote, somewhat normal. I don't know what normal really means, but they have a certain lane that everybody kind of stays in. There have been documented people that have been diagnosed with autism that are very famous, very good, that you would never know that they actually had this type of condition. And because of that superpower that they have, whether they've been scientists, they have been doctors, they have been all kinds of different people in our societies. And they just learn, as Andre just said, you just understand how to work with it. And you said it so much, and I want to applaud you for that. I said you worked with them since birth, obviously, but you've seen the different changes in the maturities, and you work with them. Like, you know what? This is what we're going to do here. You understand when to do this and when to do that, and everything works out very well when you understand the situation.
Yeah. Don't limit your kids. I say don't limit your kids. Autism is a different way of expressing humanity. It's not a limitation.
There you go. Wow.
And so on that note, we are going to remind you guys to eat well. And move.
I'm getting my moves
Andre,
down.
get your
I'm
move
trying
on.
to get my moves
Get
down.
your move on, Andre. Get your move on. Talk to you. You guys have a good one.
Have a good one. Next time we're going to be live down in Miami. I believe we're going to be in Miami and Jamaica. We're going to do a couple of shows. So look forward to that.
Oh, yes. We're on a vacation.
Class 81.
Class of 81. Shout out. Peace.
Shout out.
Imagine waking up with more energy, a peaceful mind, and relationships that grow stronger every day. That is the vision Tisa Harden and Grant McGaw want to help you achieve, and it all starts with simple, practical steps you can take this week. On health, wealth, and relationships, every episode brings you real stories and trusted experts. Tisa and Grant focus on 3 tactical steps each week. Small, doable moves that protect your health, grow your savings, and bring you closer to the people you love. No complicated rules, just real progress. Try a clinic-to-kitchen swap to boost your energy. Start a money buffer habit that quietly builds your financial confidence. Or try a 1-minute exercise that helps you reconnect with your partner. These quick wins are not chores. They are steps toward a better life. People who try just one intentional step report more energy, less money stress, and evenings full of laughter again. Join Tisa and Grant. Start small, live bigger. Tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and subscribe.